Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight Stephen Schnee is back. Tonight we are looking at the band Naked Eyes. We are going to do a career retrospective on these guys. We're hopefully going to turn you on to something. So let's get started. We are live.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
We might even try to change the world 2 tracks, maybe by albums.
Yes, exactly.
When you get Schnee on here, shit, we work in albums, ladies and gentlemen, not tracks. We work in tracks.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to welcome Mr. Schnee here tonight. He was here last night. He's back again.
We were kinky last night.
We were kinky last night.
We talked about the kinks, and now we're talking about
getting naked.
Yeah, but
so to speak.
People who didn't like synth pop, all the people who listened to Van Halen back in the day, they used to call them naked guys. That's funny. Morons.
I'm going to put up this graphic because people will know this graphic more.
Yes. I love that graphic.
I've been listening to these records, and I grew up on the US version. Now, if I will go on record that when I listen to it, the US version sounds correct to me. The other graphic, this was the original UK album. It's really the same album, but there's some different lineup changes as far as the tracks go, but we will get into that. But tonight we are talking, I'm going to throw the other graphic up because it makes me more comfortable. We're going to talk about the band Naked Eyes. So this was like, I guess I would use the term synth pop. Yeah. But I look at these guys, Steve, and I bet you do too. I put these guys up on another level.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I've got a story to go with this.
Okay.
So as soon as you're done, I'm going to go with the story.
All right. So this band was formed by Pete Byrne and Rob Fisher on keyboards. They were 2 friends from Bath, England. They were also in a band called Neon around 1980, and where there are 2 other gentlemen in this band that I'm sure you would recognize. Kurt Smith and Roland Orzabal from Tears for Fears were in the band. Neon didn't really do anything, so they split into two factions, and we've got Naked Eyes and we got Tears for Fears. Now, obviously, Tears for Fears was much bigger band, but I still love the Naked Eyes stuff. I just can't even imagine why Neon really didn't do anything, because, oh my God, how much more talent could you possibly have in a band?
Well, here's the thing about Neon is, I don't believe that Kurt joined until the second single, and Roland actually isn't on the single. He joined the band right after that. Neil Taylor used to be the guitar player in that period, and Neil Taylor became a hey Kathy,
oh shit, I haven't even looked at the comments.
And Neil Taylor has played with a lot of people over the years, but I never even heard those Neon singles until I heard of them after I got into Naked Eyes, but I did not hear them. Even hear of them or see the 2 singles. There were 2 singles by Neon, but I now own them. The thing about this band, the way that I got into them. Well, first off, what I want to say before Neon, now this blew my mind. I found this out today. I was years old when I found out that Pete Byrne, before Neon, was in a band with Jeff Stars, the lead singer from one of my favorite bands of all time called Interview. Could not believe that. That blew my mind. Yeah, Interview. They put out 2 albums on Virgin Records. One was self-titled. The other one was, the first one was called Big Oceans. The second one was self-titled in the US. It was called Snakes and Ladders, I think, in the UK, or was it Snakes and Lovers? One of those 2. But it was that totally blew my mind. And then the band that he was in after that, I think, had Manny Elias, who was the drummer in Interview and then became the drummer of Tears for Fears. So there's a linkage here between all those bands. But the way that I got into Naked Eyes was I went to Music Market in Costa Mesa. And it was a big record store. I mean, huge record store. It was, in my opinion, the best record store in Orange County. And I see up the guys putting the new releases up on the shelf. I always went to the new release section. And he's opening the boxes and putting them up on the shelf. And I see that album that's pictured there.
Yeah.
It didn't faze me or anything like that. I just thought, oh, Naked Eyes, I better check that out. So as soon as he was done putting the records up, I turned the album over, produced by Tony Mansfield. I didn't even go into the store. This is what I'm buying, because Tony Mansfield was in another one of my favorite bands called New Music. He was the main guy behind New Music. He produced Captain Sensible's first two albums, Had to Turn on the Light. Got to dim it.
You've got to look good, Schnee.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to do that. I need a filter.
Oh.
But so I bought it. I went all the way up to the store and did not look around at all, because, you know, at that point I was only buying maybe one album per record store, per record store visit. And I walked out and took it home and then put the needle down, and you hear, and then Always Something There That Reminds Me starts. And what an amazing pop album that is. It's pure synth pop. The great thing about Naked Eyes is throughout their entire career, they did not rely on hairstyles, clothes, makeup. It was always about the songs. Pete Byrne had a great voice, still has a great voice, judging by, their most recent album. And just, I was over the moon when I heard that album. There is a CD version of that album.
Oh, I hate you, because I don't. That's out of print.
Oh, is it out of print? And they've added
to get one.
And they've added bonus tracks.
Because this is my preferred version of the debut. Because just from what we started with,
I'm going to go to the Naked Eyes website and get the T-shirt of this, because there's a blue T-shirt that has this cover on it. But usually if I have $25 or $30, I'm going to buy a CD or two rather than a T-shirt. But this album is pop extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Everything is amazing about it. The vocals, the songwriting, the production. I mean, this is pure, absolute synth pop, but it is, as you said, it's head and shoulders above. It's not just, Naked Eyes are not just one of the best synth duos of the era. They're one of the best. One of the best.
One of the best.
Yeah, they're one of the best synth pop duos. No, they're one of the best synth pop bands,
right,
from that era. Period. Absolutely.
They had a lot more success here in the United States than they ever did in the UK. I don't think their albums even charted over there when I was doing research. Here, they charted. I mean, there's always something there to remind me. Reached number 8 here in the States. Promises hit 11. When the Lights Go Out hit number 37. And Fuel for the Fire, the song What in the Name of Love off their second album, got up to 39.
Tell me what.
Now that second album didn't sell quite as well as the first. No. And of course, after that, they hung up their skates, so to speak. And but gee, many Christmas. I always wonder, why do you think that this really didn't take off so much in the UK? Do you have any idea? I mean, any thoughts to that? Because when I listened to it, how could this not take off? I just don't understand.
There was so much stuff coming out at that time. Yeah. So much pop music. Naked Eyes, for me, they created great pop music that thankfully caught on. Thankfully, they were accepted by top 40 and stuff like that. But like I said, they did nothing to cater to the top 40 crowd. I mean, if you see them in their videos, if you see them in their TV appearances, they're regular guys. They're not selling an image. They're selling the music.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really, in my opinion, it's always, I didn't pay attention to Culture Club until I heard Karma Chameleon, which I think is a great song. I didn't pay attention because you can't sell me on an image or a hairstyle. I know that Flock of Seagulls had the hairstyle, but I love the music. I could care less about hairstyles. I could care less about wearing the clothes of the day or makeup and, all this stuff. To me, it's all about the music, and it's the way the music hits me. Naked Eyes, superb. Absolutely one of the best. And like I said, it's down to those two guys, Rob Fisher and Pete Byrne, and of course the production of Tony Mansfield.
Yeah. I look at this record, and yes, it's a pop record, but like you said, we put this at another level. Mm-hmm. Is it commercial? Well, I think that if you like, there's always something there to remind me, and promises. If you like that, I guarantee you'll like the rest of the record, because there are other songs just as catchy. And if you like the production on those, I've bitched about 80s production before. This is a record that I would not change anything about, because when I think 80s and I think good 80s, I can say, all right, Naked Eyes debut, 100%. Fuel for the Fire, 100%. It's 80s sounding, but it's done properly. The other thing is, this is one of those bands that use the Fairlight sampler. Everything on here, I mean, if you look at Rob's keyboards, it's all like Fairlight stuff, but it's done very tastefully and not, there was a lot of people that would use the Fairlight really as a gimmick. Think of Yes, Only of a Lonely Heart. There's a lot of gimmicks. There are no gimmicks to Naked Eyes. They know how to use the Fairlight. They know how to use samples correctly and tastefully. So I think when you play this record now in 2025, I don't look at it and go, oh God, that is not, wearing well. That is dating. Yeah, it's 80s, but it's good 80s. Rob's vocals, one of the best voices, I think, in the 80s. Huh?
You mean Pete? Pete.
Pete. What did I say? Rob?
You said Rob, yeah.
What the hell? I'm stuck on Rob. Pete's vocals. Great voice. It's wonderful execution. I'm assuming he wrote the lyrics to this stuff. The lyrics are great. And, the keyboard parts, the songwriting on this record, I think, is top notch. I can listen to this record. If I'm going on a desert island, I could probably take this with me. It would probably check that box. It's that
Voices
good.
in My Head is incredible. Fortune and Fame.
Oh my God.
I know that they did Fortune and Fame. I'm sorry. Maybe it's not, I know, but I'm pretty sure they did Fortune and Fame on American Bandstand. I think they did Always Something There to Remind Me, and then Fortune and Fame. And that should have been a single, and it should have been a hit. Now, I'm glad that Promises was a hit, because there were a lot of bands at that time putting out cover versions. And as everybody knows, Always Something There to Remind Me was a cover version. And a great cover version, because they sort of reinvented it. They sort of made it their own. So, I don't listen to it and go, well, it's not as good as, Sandy Shaw or Dusty Springfield or, whoever. I listen to it and I go, this is a great version, and the original is a great version. But see, that's the thing about their originals. Their originals were on par with the cover version.
Yeah, when I was on the cruise, and of course Pete was on the cruise, and I also, if you go down in the Warehouse, I posted the Naked Eyes interview today, which is just a Pete Byrne interview. He was talking about that, and they were going, well, why did you pick that song? And he said, it just kind of happened. It could have been something else. We really just picked it, and we just did a version of it, and that was it. And that's what you got. But they did make it their own, and that's one of the beautiful things. And again, I'm just so surprised that this album didn't do anything over in the UK.
Yeah, and like you said, the UK version.
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
when this came out on vinyl, I found out that there was a different version in the UK. As well, especially when I bought the import singles and it says taken from the album Burning Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know, is there something unreleased on there? Is it a whole different thing? I could never, ever find this. The first time I heard Burning Bridges was the CD reissue.
Wow.
Now, of course, everything on it I had already heard, but I never heard it as originally envisioned. Because to me, it's always like, as much as I love like the Beatles albums, like, Beatles 6, Something New, the American version of Rubber Soul, as much as I love all that kind of stuff, it's always great to hear the album as the band had envisioned it. Because the bands spend a lot of time figuring out what the track list is going to be, the song order. So it was great to be able to experience it and then add the bonus tracks as well. But this debut by Naked Eyes, to me, is just amazingly heartwarming pop. And if you love good melodies, this is what it's all about. Their songwriting is steeped in the 60s. They're very influenced by the 60s pop, or by 60s pop, but it's very modern for 1983. They weren't dipping in and trying to do, be retro. They were being modern, but songwriting was fantastic.
Yeah, you could almost say Beatlesque in a 80s synth pop way. I mean, that's a stretch, but the melodies on here, very infectious. Let's say that.
Very. I mean, the melodies are influenced by anyone from the Beatles to Backrack, which, who wrote Always Something There to Remind Me, to even Motown. You could tell that they loved pop music.
Mm-hmm. The US version, basically it removed, Burning Bridges, I could show you how, a very hard act to follow, and Pitiless were on the UK CD. They were not on the American version. American version also had a couple of remixes, which I do think the American version is superior because the sequencing is really great. They also added like B-sides. So the singles that they had over in the UK, they took a lot of those. They took like 3 B-sides and put those on the US release. And if you've ever been following how these record companies operated back in the day, they used to do that all the time in the 60s. They were doing it all the time with these British UK acts. They'd reformat the record and they'd put the singles on there, that because, in the UK, they usually didn't put singles on the records back in the 60s. But they were still doing it in 1983. Now, the second album, they released that in 84, and that did have the same UK track listing. They didn't do anything to it. There are no new different remixes in there. But I do think that the remixes they did for the US release, I think it was an improvement. I mean, you've got Duran Duran Rio from 82. The US version of Rio is different than the UK version. I mean, they used the night version of Hungry Like a Wolf on the US album. And there was a lot of different remixes. Is it better than the UK album? I don't think so.
Me being a fan, I have to own both. The big difference, difference between Always Something There to Remind Me is the UK version was a hard intro, just bam, 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 but
that's what I liked.
Right. But the American one though had the little Lindrum feel, the bam, 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 so the American version had probably a second added onto it. But to me, it made it more radio friendly because it just wasn't a bam start,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I much prefer the US mix than the UK mix or the album, however you want to look at it. I think that the US album's superior, but I want it all. I want it all.
Yes.
So anyway, I rate this record, if I was going to rate it out of 10, God, I'd get... is it a perfect? It's damn near perfect, but I don't know which one I would really. I guess I'd rank the US album. I think give it a damn 9 out of 10. I would probably. I don't know. Even I'd give it a 9.8.
I'd give it a
9.8.
9.8.
All right, so there's that record. The next album came out in 1984.
Oh,
like
we
I
want to talk
said,
about Promises,
oh,
Promises. That was another big
oh,
hit for them.
go
And
ahead.
then Promises, Promises was a hit. And then there was also the other single, which was a minor hit, which was When the Lights Go Out. And
Yeah.
both of those are great songs too.
Yeah. So anyway, that record was a success. It bombed in the UK. I don't know if did the singles even really chart over there. I don't think.
I don't think so. I know that Voices in My Head, I think, was the second single in the UK. It never releases a single over here. In fact, I don't remember anything apart from the singles getting played on radio. K-Rock was always really big on, they'd flip a single over and play the B-side, or you'd get a deep album cut every now and then, Catching Fire. But the only things that got played here was Always Something There to Remind Me, Promises, Promises, and what was the one When the Lights Go Out. How come I can never, too many words.
The brain, Steve, the brain.
Yeah, too many words.
Yeah. So, all right, Fuel for the Fire came out in 1984. Let's bring up that graphic. Now this has the exact same album cover here than it had in the UK. Released in 84.
And same track list.
Same track listing. Tony Mansfield's back producing, but you get some contributions from Arthur Baker on here, mostly like different mixes and stuff.
Well, Arthur Baker produced two songs on the album, the two singles.
But it does continue from where the first album left off.
Oh, totally.
Totally. They really didn't. I mean, there might be a little bit more Fairlight action, maybe a little bit more. I don't want to say a little showing off of the Fairlight, but maybe a little bit more. But it continues. How do you compare this record? What's your thoughts on this record, Steve?
I love this record, and some parts of it, I like the singles. What in the Name of Love and Sacrifice are two of my favorite Naked Eye songs. I probably like both of those songs more than I like some of the songs off of the first album. And that's like saying, you know what? I prefer McCartney over Lennon. You know, they're both great. Hi, Annie. They're both absolutely great and wonderful, but I'd say if the first album is a 9.8, second album's a 9.
Right.
I think it's really strong.
Really strong. It just continues on, but they're not, this is like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Probably the critics probably go, like I looked on All Music today, because, I'm going out and see what different people said about it. They only gave it like 2 stars out of 5. I'm going, what? Because I think it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. They basically, I don't want to say they remade the first album, but they just continued on. They didn't reinvent themselves.
Flying Solo was different than stuff off the first album. Flag of Convenience was different than stuff off the first album. Sacrifice, What in the Name of Love, those are not songs that, in my opinion, could have gone on the first album. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who loves Naked Eyes. And Answering Service is great. Eyes of a Child, New Hearts. And it is following up a year later. And when you're dealing with the Fairlight and dealing with all that kind of stuff, this could have been a whole new batch of songs, or it could have been songs that they had been building up over the years, the few years. Because I think it was like from the time they got together to the time they recorded the first album, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so they had plenty of time to get a catalog together.
Yeah. So to me, this is not a sophomore slump album. To me, this is not the difficult second album. This is an album, I think maybe in some sense, it's not as popular as the not as commercial as the first album. I think there are a few songs here that they do a few things that are different. And I think that's probably why they had Arthur Baker come in and do Sacrifice, which is incredible.
Phenomenal.
And What in the Name of Love, which is incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I love What in the Name of Love. And I could see
more.
But it got up to 39. That's not bad. That's not bad. But this record geez, what did I can't remember what I said. It was at the lower end of the top 100, 69 maybe.
Which
I
is
can't remember.
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I'm sure everybody in the chat, including Annie T and Kathy, you can all sit there and probably name stuff that you love that wasn't a hit, that didn't generate enough attention, or maybe the lower region of the charts. There's so much music out there that didn't make it. Sometimes you can sit there and go, well, okay, I can understand that. I can see why that, didn't have an effect on the charts. But both Naked Eyes, I think that their material was of such quality that they should have had several hits per album.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know why they only, well, if you look at the second album, okay, it got to 83 on the chart, 69, 83, about damn near the same thing. What in the Name of Love got 39. That was the only single released off this record, where the other album had 3 singles. I just find that odd because you could have, Sacrifice could have been a single.
In the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, I think Sacrifice may have been released to radio because there is an Arthur Baker remix of it, or maybe they could have been preparing for it. And I'd love to do an Ocean Blue show at some point.
I got Ocean Blue. Funny you should bring that up, Ken, not to go on a tangent, but when I was at Half Price Books, gosh, a couple months ago, someone must have got rid of their Ocean Blue collection, and I don't think Half Price Books knew what to do with it. So I got them for like $1 a piece. How great is that, Steve? Come on.
That's lucky.
You got to love that.
Yeah. But for some reason, it seemed like it might have been every time like an artist like Naked Eyes or somebody comes along, they're signed to a label, they're being pushed by certain people in the company, then those people leave the company. There's a total change of people at the top, and then they set their sights and they say, oh, there's this new band we want to push, let's go for that. And then Naked Eyes sort of gets pushed by the wayside because, they've already had their hits, everybody knows them, let them sell on their own. But if they had pushed this album,
well, Ken, if you want Ocean Blue, damn it, I guess we're gonna have to do an Ocean Blue show for you. I'm writing it down.
Where's that form of phrase?
You know who also loves Ocean Blue is Todd Evans.
Lotion
I might be
Blue?
able to get Todd Evans. Oh, he's got all the Ocean Blue stuff. I might be able to
Lotion Blue, and I'm going, ooh.
I might be able to bring Todd Evans out of retirement for the Ocean Blue show. I'm going to ask him.
Tell him I won't be on the show. That'll probably make him want to come on more.
Schnee. He wants you on the show. All right. So let's see. What do we? Oh, DC. Look at this. Who would win the street fight between Naked Eyes and Soft Cell?
Okay, let's put it this way.
I'd say Soft Cell because Mark Allman's an asshole. No offense.
I will tell you this. Like I read once, and I think that most people can agree, is when you're looking at a band like Naked Eyes, Human League, all the synth pop bands, they're slick and beautifully produced. Then you listen to Soft Cell. Somebody in the British press said they're like the garage band version of synth pop, because their synth pop is beautiful, it's wonderful, but it's also kind of dirty, kind of grungy. And when I say
Sex
grungy, I'm
Dwarf, kind of dirty and grungy.
Yeah, but I'm not saying grungy in terms of grunge music. I'm saying it's kind of dirty. You don't feel clean. It's like with Naked Eyes, you listen to it and you go, oh, and your teeth feel sparkly clean. You listen to Soft Cell and you need to take a shower because
I felt dirty. I felt dirty out in the 80s cruise last year just watching the show.
Okay, DC. DC needs a Go West show. So here it is. Go West, couple albums. Okay, the end. Next.
All right, we did it.
Yeah.
Okay, Popopictic or whatever. Truth at Soft Cell, it's gritty and has tension to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing gritty about Naked Eyes, and there's no tension. It's just top-notch songwriting.
Yeah. It's
When in Rome. What about When in Rome, Schnee?
No, go back and When in Rome, one album. It's going to be a 5-minute. Me talking, it's going to be 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
What's your Icicle Works?
Web. Oh yeah, go ahead. Web.
Yeah, we should do Icicle Works.
Okay, gosh, I'm writing all this shit down.
I have to talk to Ian McNabb. Ask if he'll be on the show.
We'll get Ian work on there, and we'll do it.
I just saw on Facebook Ian. He was flying to L.A.
Well, I guess now might not be maybe this is the time.
Yeah. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Mike. It's Steve. I just thought maybe we could get you booked. Till Tuesday's back together, and they're gonna play that festival
right?
Huh?
No,
not a cruise, but some rock show. But they're back till Tuesday. The original lineup is back together. How cool! Who would have ever thought that would happen?
Yeah, but I'd go to that show and I'd watch Donnie Irish and the Cruisers.
Yeah. Donnie Irish and the Cruisers playing in the 80s cruise next year.
Yeah, Zach Starkey. No, but I'll tell you, Icicle Works, great band.
Skritty Politti? Uh-oh. Schnee's not a fan. Anyway, we're on a tangent. We need to keep going. Anyway. Love the first album. I love the second album, but probably not quite up to the standard of the first album, but only by a couple of points. So,
yeah, I mean, barely. We're talking a hot fudge sundae with nuts, hot fudge sundae without.
We could do a Till Tuesday show, though.
Not me.
You don't like Till Tuesday?
I have one album coming up close. Is one of my favorite songs of the 80s, but I don't have the other two albums.
Is anybody in the chat that would do a Till Tuesday show with me? Please respond in the chat. I kind of would like to do Till Tuesday.
Or is there anybody in the chat who wants to send me the CDs of the first and third album?
I've got them. I'll send them to you.
No. You send me the CDs.
Oh, well, I could do that. That third Till Tuesday album, the one that's got a lot of Jules Shear stuff on it. Oh, yeah. It's so good. Look at that, people. Motels. We already did Motels.
We already did Motels.
Come on, D-Rocker.
D-Rocker. What does D stand for? Doo-doo?
Soft Cell is deliciously naughty. Whatever that means.
Sex dwarf, isn't it?
See, Webb will do it. Damn it. Webb will do it. All right, let's keep going. So what should we cover next, Steve?
Okay, now Naked Eyes, unfortunately...
It's getting kind of complicated now.
Unfortunately, the band split up after that. Now, here's what happened. About 4 years later, 4 years later, Rob Fisher was in another duo that was slick. Not as good.
I should have pulled it.
But that duo, Peter Noone, I know. The group was called Climby Fisher, and they had a big hit with Love Changes Everything. Simon Climby was the singer-songwriter. He'd been songwriting, he'd been producing, but him and Rob got together. And
oh yeah, speaking of shows, he keeps bringing this up and I haven't done it. He wants to do a shoes show and try to get Jeff Murphy on. But hasn't Jeff Murphy been on your show already?
If you go to my channel, you'll see a 2-part interview with Jeff, John, and Gary.
He was thinking it'd be cool to do a listening party with Jeff Murphy, and he could pick the selections and then talk about the tracks in between. That would be kind of a cool show.
I want to mention, does anybody out there own that Real Gone Music compilation, that shoes compilation that Real Gone Music put out? Guess who picked the songs and wrote the liner notes? That's right.
Rob Fisher.
Right, Rob Fisher from Climby Fisher and Naked Eyes. But I think that Climby Fisher was a little too slick.
It's a little bit too slick. I don't have a problem with it, but it's like Naked Eyes and Overdrive, and I don't think the songs are quite up to the
No.
quality of what the Naked Eyes stuff was, but I do have the CD. It's fine. But I don't really turn to it like I do the Naked Eyes stuff.
Well, here's what I feel about Climby Fisher. I feel that Naked Eyes was a band that was focusing on writing songs, and Climby Fisher was a band focusing on writing hits. And there's a big difference.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right, Ken. World Party. I know we've talked about that before. There's a lot of things I would do, but not till Tuesday. Okay.
So we have to wait
All
a couple
right,
days.
Annie T, calm down.
No, I think she just means we have to wait a few days till Tuesday.
Maybe I would do the show on Tuesday, so that maybe that would be.
See, that's ski lodge night, though.
Well, we're gonna have to do it before ski lodge.
Yeah,
you can't do till Tuesday.
Right,
on
but
Wednesday.
Anyway, Climby Fisher put out 2 albums, and unfortunately, Rob Fisher passed away in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And he was. See, Naked Eyes. There's a chemistry between those two guys. Rob was not able to capture it in the same way as he was in Naked Eyes and Climby Fisher.
Correct.
He captured magic, but Naked Eyes, like I said, about the songs and about the hits.
And I think it had a lot to do with, I think it had a lot to do with the vocals too.
Yeah.
Together, those guys produced magic. It was the combination, That's the way I look at it. And, the Fisher project, it's fine, but.
Yeah. But in the meantime, though, there were things like this. There are a couple compilations. This is I think the second one.
That's the second one. That one I don't have. I've got the first one. That one goes for a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
And I believe that came out in 94, I think. Or 2004. So. The other comp came out in the 90s, I think.
And then there's this.
Oh.
This is a comp called Everything and More. And basically, it's kind of like, look at all the other compilations that have come out. And this is going to be the stuff that didn't make those. It's going to be like some B-sides. It has all 4 Neon songs. So the A and B sides of the 2 Neon singles,
I need to
plus extended mixes and all that kind of stuff. Plus, it comes with a Broken Jewel case.
Here, hang on. Throw that up again. Just throw the back up. Yeah, I really need. It's not cheap.
No, it's not. But it's absolutely fantastic. And then,
fantastic.
Before we get back into Naked Eyes, while they were on Broken Up, per se, Pete Byrne put out a solo album, and that's called The Real Illusion. Now, there's a couple cover versions on the album, Paint It Black by the Stones, and then Concrete and Clay, Beneath My Feet, but the rest of it is then modern synth pop. I think this was 2001. Let me see.
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks on there that was for the third Naked Eyes album that they were working on before they
split. Yeah.
Well, right. No, they were gonna put out a third album.
Yeah.
And he passed away.
Yeah, so that's this. And then it was I gotta see. And then Pete started doing like some of the reunion tour or the 80s tours, the package tours. And then what was this, 2007, I think, is when Fumbling with the Covers came out. And this is nothing what you expect. This is acoustic guitar, and it's him doing cover versions of some of his favorite songs, such as, they do a couple Naked Eyes things, like Where the Lights Go Out, Promises, Promises, Always Something There to Remind Me. But they also do he also does Rocket Man,
Elvis
Cry Baby Cry. Yeah, Man Out of Time. Yeah. So it's not it's still Rob sounding great, but it's an acoustic album. And then
Jesus, look at that, the Schnee fan club. Calm down, Kathy. Don't leave a mess, please. I don't need to clean up anything.
And then in what was it? What year? I'm going to see what year This is okay.
2007.
No, well, that was 2007. In 2021, out came Disguise the Limit.
Yeah. Let me make that big for every. Oh, wait a minute. I've got that graphic. Grant. I got both of them. Jeez. Go ahead and show it, but there it is.
Okay.
Disguise the Limit.
Oh, your graphic isn't autographed by Pete Byrne.
Well, he autographed them all.
I know, except that graphic. But this, I think, is absolutely wonderful return to form.
Mm-hmm.
I think every song on this album is great. When I saw the track listing, I said, there's no way in hell that anybody in this world who has a song called Shut Up and Dance, that it's going to be a good song. But no, it's a good song. Just there are certain song titles like I'm going to rock and roll ya, or, things that I'm not even going to listen to that. I already know it's going to, suck balls. But Shut Up and Dance on this album, I think this album, is it as good as the first two? Well, it's only Pete. It's not,
there's something missing, but it's a more modern take on Naked Eyes, but it still is synth pop.
Yes, I think it's better than The Real Illusion. Yeah. As a whole album. It's so much better than that. It's all new original songs.
Let me make you a big show that back cover. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. And that is available on the Naked Eyes website.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. If you check the Naked Eyes website, they used to actually have that the American First album autographed by Pete, but it's sold out now. And since it's out of print, he can't get any more in.
I heard that I did see some post. Someone made a comment. He said, well, they're supposed to press more. And that was I think his comment was this March. Because I bet you after the 80s cruise, I bet his site probably had a bump, and people asked, and he said, according to him, they're supposed to print more. I don't know.
Well, remind me, Grant, tomorrow. Yeah. I work in the business.
By the business, do you mean the industry?
I work in the industry.
God.
And okay. if you contact me, I will check our database to see if that first album is actually officially deleted or if it is just currently out of stock.
Okay. You know what, Steve, since you do work in the industry, and by the industry, I do mean the business, I will contact you tomorrow to remind you.
Okay.
So if you could check on that. Heck, if you can, in your database, like some of the stuff out of print, have you ever, some of those, let's say it's another out of print Naked Eyes record, like that comp that you just showed. Do sometimes in the database that they may find some and then they may throw them back out for the public? Do you ever find that?
Well, see, older things like that, Everything and More, that one. First off, One Way doesn't exist anymore.
So that is One Way.
Yeah. But if it's deleted and the label has no intention of reselling it, then they are going to delete it and it's not going to be in our system at all.
All right.
Sometimes labels will repress things, such as Cherry Red. There's a band called Scars. They were like a post-punk band from Scotland, I believe. And they had an album, and Cherry Red put out like a 2 CD version. It's the album plus a bunch of, I think, like radio sessions or live or whatever. And I kept putting off on getting it. And then it was not being printed for a long time. Then it came back in print. Cherry Red repressed it. And I go, oh, good, it's repressed. And then I forgot to get it. And now it's out of print. Like, it's like $50. I can't look.
Yeah.
I may look like I'm made of money, especially because all of this kind of stuff.
That haircut.
Yeah, that haircut, of course.
Look at it. It's $1 million haircut.
Yeah, and my sweater.
Makes you look dapper.
But the fact is, I'm not made of money. So my CD buying days are limited. Oh, look at this nice slice of
the sun.
Yeah, the sun. God is jabbing me.
It's God coming down.
Good Schnee. Stop buying
bastard.
CDs. But these things do sometimes come back in print or are repressed. Cherry Red sometimes represses them. A lot of the times, like let's say for the Mood, they're not going to repress the Mood. We were talking about the Mood before we came on today.
Mm-hmm.
Another great synth pop band. And in our database, if they're gone, they're gone. So if somebody came up, if somebody from One Way found another box, let's say One Way was still around, more than likely they'd go on the collector's market instead of making available through us and then selling them at their cost or whatever it is. They would go to Discogs, they would go to eBay and make stuff available.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. I had no idea how that worked.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a tangent. Surprised? Were people surprised we went on a tangent?
Grant and I are known for, I think people go like, I don't want to hear about Naked Eyes. I want to hear about the 37 other bands they're going to talk about during the show. So then they come on and watch us just to go on our tangents.
Ken, I want to mention World Party real quick. I saw World Party probably 5 years ago in Columbus in a small club called The Basement. Tiny club. And he signed my World Party CD right then. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, may he rest in peace, because he was, what a talent.
Yeah.
What a talent. And those World Party albums, absolutely wonderful stuff. Oh, my God.
It's interesting how bands evolve. You've got the Waterboys, and you've got the keyboard player of the Waterboys ends up leaving the band, forming World Party. And then I think somebody in World Party, one of their musicians was Guy Chambers, who then went on to write all the hits for Robbie Williams. And that's why Robbie Williams did Angels, which is a World Party song. Isn't that the one that
I do believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, so
neither am I.
Don't quote me, but I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. World Party, top notch. No, not a bad record. Ken says, my wife and I saw World Party a few years ago, House of Blues here in Cleveland. I think that was the same tour, Ken. Annie Tia, money isn't everything.
Yeah.
It helps, though.
Yes. Ultimately, I think with the music, I've never been a follower of what people like. What other people like. I've always been a follower of what I like, what moves me, what brings that passion out in me. It just so happens that Naked Eyes is one of the bands that became popular. This whole section, I mean, all my CDs here, a normal person, let's say Kathy or Annie T or Ken White or somebody came over and started going through my CDs, you're probably going to go, oh, I know that band. Oh yeah, I love that band. And then you're going to go through another 30, 40 CDs before you find another band that you like. Thing is I love music with such a passion, and it's insane to think that so much of the stuff didn't hit anywhere, not even in their home countries.
Right.
But with Naked Eyes, at least they had a few hits. I would have loved it if they had more. I'm sure they would have loved it if they had more.
I'd like to have seen where they would have went.
Yeah.
Because it was a great combination.
Yeah.
It would be great to see where Neon would have went, though.
Yeah, true.
Because there's so much talent there. It's just, coming out of your glove.
Yeah, exactly.
So to speak. So. All right. I guess we can wrap this dog up, Schnee. Hopefully we can turn some people on to the Naked Eyes. The Naked Eyes.
Yeah, the Naked Eyes are good. I like the Squeeze, too.
Squeeze were good on the ship.
Without Chris Difford, too. I've seen Squeeze a few times.
He was sick. He was sick.
I saw Squeeze on the East Side Story tour. on the Cozy Fan Tutti Frutti tour. I saw Different Tilbrook on the Frank tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw them on the Some Fantastic Place tour. And then I saw them when it was Different Tilbrook and they were doing their show and the lights went on, the curtain went up, and they were laying in separate beds up on stage, and they were in their pajamas. And Fountains of Wayne opened that show.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw them. Gosh, how many years ago was it? God, it probably 10 years now because time flies.
Yes.
And I can't keep track. Cake opened up for them.
Wow.
Cake was fantastic. Cake was fantastic.
There's a band. Now, I've never really paid attention to them either way, so I don't have an opinion. But there's a band that has a dedicated following.
Mm-hmm. I like the Cake stuff.
Yeah, like when Cake came out with like some limited edition vinyl box set, bingo, it was gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know,
they were good. They were good.
Yeah, there's so much great stuff out there.
So much great stuff. So please go out and give Naked Eye some love if you can find any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can easily find it on vinyl. A lot of people out there are vinyl people. So I do have it on vinyl. If you need a copy, just let me know. I'll send it out. Yeah. DC says here, as you can tell from my picks, I do not care what other people like. I think that's an important thing about being a music fan is I do care what people think about me, my channel, stuff like that. But ultimately, I do what I do, just like you do what you do, except you don't do it as well.
No. But I'm much more likable.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. You're much more likable. That's why you surpassed me in subs.
Oh, the subs right now going through the roof, baby. But not like some other channels that I've talked to. But I'm a relatively young channel.
I've seen subs that have 8,000, 14,000 subs, and yet the videos get viewed like 28 times. I'm thinking, how much does it cost to buy subs? But I would never buy a sub. I mean, I would buy a sub sandwich, but I wouldn't buy a sub or subscriber.
So Trash Can Sinatra's, is that in your? I don't have any of their stuff.
I've got it all.
Study.
I've got it all.
I mean, I'm not opposed to looking at it.
I've got the extended versions. Yeah, got the extended versions of the CDs. I've got everything by them. I even have on a B-side road, which is all their B-sides, which is great. I did, if anybody cares, I did an episode of Trash Can Sinatra's probably about a year ago on my channel. So
go
just
check it out on Schnee's channel.
Type in CD Junkie Trash Can Sinatra's. I go through the albums. One of the next things I'm going to do, is I'm going to do Prefab Sprout. I've been putting that off. I don't know why, but I don't know
why you've been putting it off.
I mean, I've got a box right here that I was just going to do my T-Rex thing. But then we're going to do something. Maybe I'll just do my version because we go more into depth on our show that we're going to do on your channel.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess
really good. Schnee's got a Harry Potter look going. Well, I would never have thought that, but okay.
I'm perfectly fine with however people see me. If they see me as being magical.
Rob says you guys should check out Cheek Face. Not familiar with that. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, that's not a band that I'm familiar with either. One of the bands I'm going to cover soon on my channel, folks.
All right, I got it written down. Who? What?
Cardiacs.
Yeah, I've never.
If you haven't heard Cardiacs, imagine early Split Ends, like the Mental Notes, Second Thoughts. That real theatrical circus type thing. Then throw in the Dickies and Toy Dolls, and you've got this punk energy with this almost circus sound with keyboards and horns. It's freaking crazy. No band sounds like them. Unfortunately, the leader, Tim Smith, passed away 5 years ago after living with a stroke for after living.
Do it like that.
Yeah.
Do it. Do your radio voice. Do it.
I don't have a radio voice.
Yes, you do. Do it. Do it.
Cardiac's leader, Tim Smith, suffered a stroke in 2008 and passed away in 2020. The Cardiacs are one of the most original, astounding, outrageously incredible bands ever. And also,
yes, Schnee, I would 100% agree with that. Yeah, the Cardiacs are really great.
I'm getting aroused.
I am too.
No, but Cardiacs, they call it pronk music. Or actually, Tim Smith, the leader of the band, said it was pop music. But other people call it pronk, which is prog punk.
Yeah,
and it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Hey, stop taking the ladies away.
Well, I just want to see if I can compete. Sound like Gene Simmons.
I know. I'm getting slightly nauseated now.
Plaster Caster. All right. Anyway, so go out and check out some Naked Eyes and let us know. The lightning bolt on the forehead. What the hell does that mean?
Zoing.
Oh, well, I don't have that. It's nighttime here.
No, it's me. Zoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. DC says panties are flying. Usually that happens for DC because the women go crazy over DC.
Yeah.
Not us. But DC. They like good old DC.
Yeah. The only time women goes crazy for me is when I whip out dollar bills.
Exactly.
And I start throwing them.
They're all on the pole. All right, everybody. Let's wrap this dog up. Schnee?
Yes.
I'm not sure what's next. Do we know what's next for us? Because I know we've booked a whole bunch of shows.
We booked a whole bunch of shows, but we're coming to an end now. I'm checking my list right now. Hold on.
I'm looking.
On the 19th, we're doing Donny Osmond.
Yes, the 19th, 8 p.m. We will be live for that. We will be talking Donny Osmond.
And then on the 20th, I
T-Rex.
T-Rex and Missing Persons.
Oh, geez. We're doing a double whammy.
Yeah, that's your fault. And then
That's
on the
all right.
26th, we're doing The Residents, the first 10 years.
All right. So we've got a lot coming on. Schnee will be coming back to the warehouse. We'll try to get Schnee on every now and then because the women like it.
He prefers BM Bolt and David Cretan and whoever else. I'm always last on his list.
Annie T, no one gets a wrench anymore because we don't do wrenches anymore because I keep getting hacked when I do it. All right, everybody, let's wrap it up. We've definitely hit the end of the show. All right, have a good week. Tomorrow, see, I got the gunk from the airplane.
Say it again, Kathy.
That's right. So have a good weekend. Nothing's going on this weekend. I need to take a break. May, the listening parties will come back, and I think I'm going to get Schnee lined up for the first one when we come back, and we'll do like power pop or tech or synth pop or something.
No, we talked about doing the Australian show.
Oh, the Australian show. We'll bring Steve back for the Australian show.
80s.
Australian 80s. All right. Missing persons. We've talked about that.
Yeah. Well, Missing Persons, we're doing that the same day we're doing T-Rex.
Yeah.
But okay. Let me just tell you, folks, that the T-Rex that I plan to do on my show, well, I'm going to discuss this with Grant because if it's a conflict of interest,
it is.
It is a conflict of interest.
No, I don't care what you do.
I was going to do my CD Junkie and go through the entire T-Rex catalog in like one show, right? Just real quick, show you the covers, talk about how they matter in my life. But on Grant's show, who else is doing it with us, Grant? Santa Claus or...
Jesus. Let me look. T-Rex. It's just you and me.
Okay. Well, no, there was a third person because we're going to do like the first 4 albums. The albums that they were Tyrannosaurus Rex. That was going to be one
I've
episode.
got something written down. Tom and Schnee for missing. Maybe it's
Tom Jones.
I think Tom Jones is coming on.
We're going to do a show with Tom Jones and talk about T-Rex. Whoa.
Oh, look at this. Kathy says the 19th can't come soon enough.
Say it again, Kathy.
Say it again. We can hardly wait. All right, everybody. This show's went into the toilet. All right, we'll see ya. Have a good week.
Thank you,
keep it
everybody.
clean, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We'll see y'all later.
See ya. Bye.